Space, that one. That's the exact one, the final frontier. And we're back. Thank you for joining me for this edition of What the Heck Has Aaron Been Up To? It's been over a year since the last time I put something up here, and that's basically because I get sidetracked super easily, and I still enjoy all these projects, but I'm, not like one of those people who's going to burn themselves down trying to make content week after week. I'm just going to put things up when they happen. So let's get back to the point, which is, what have I been up to? Well, other than working, sleeping, and converting oxygen into carbon dioxide, I've pretty much been standing just about right here. And that's because I've picked up a new hobby. Actually, a hobby and a half, because it all started with the purchase of a telescope, a very nice 8-inch Dobsonian telescope. For those of you who don't know what I mean by Dobsonian, it really just means that there's just like this big tube on a Lazy Susan that you have to manually aim. It doesn't have any of that fancy go-to or tracking stuff built in. You really have to learn what you're looking for, find it, and then the dopamine rush you get when you actually find something in this giant pile of needles in the sky is absolutely amazing. I highly recommend it. So it all started there, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I've got this camera that I use once a year to make a video for everyone to watch. I wonder what would happen if I pointed it up at space. And so I did. And I started taking pictures of different objects that you can easily see and find up in the sky, and examining them and going, okay, so what's next? And what I realized is there's a whole lot of next. So I set brackets on myself, and I said, okay, what can I do with what I have with a few added extras on top of it? And so what we're gonna look at today, this is not gonna be a very long video, is the Heart and Soul Nebula, which is extraordinarily hard from where I live, just outside of Atlanta. The light pollution from the city is really noticeable when you start trying to do things like this. Then we're gonna take a look at Andromeda, which is a galaxy that, even though it's 2.4 million with an M light years away, it is twice as big as our galaxy, and it is extremely bright. And if you know where you're looking and it's dark enough, you can actually see it without a telescope. It's like the size of the moon. I'm not kidding. It's crazy that we walk around every day, we look up and we don't even notice that there's this stuff out there. And then on that same topic, we're going to take a look at Orion, which has just like so many things buried in it. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to shut up, and then I'm going to take these huge data sets, which is like 200, 300, 400 pictures that took like hours and hours to make. I've made them into time lapses so you can kind of get a sense of all the data that went into it, and then I'm going to show you the final picture. Now, be nice. I'm new to this. I'm in very bright skies at night, so it's very hard to get some of these things to pop out the way I want to, and in some cases, I didn't know what I was doing. So those of you who do this kind of stuff, you're going to be like, wow, he really beat the heck out of that. Yeah, so I was pretty chuffed that some of those piles of images I'd been taking turned into cool looking time lapses. Hopefully I'll make some more of those, and if they're cool enough, I'll put them up with maybe less talking and maybe more looking after that. But before we leave, I wanted to just point out, because you saw the telescope earlier, I didn't take those pictures using that telescope. I can, but one of the problems that you have, especially the more you zoom in, is that because the Earth is spinning, it looks like all the stars are moving past you faster and faster. So one thing that I've discovered that we could use is something called a star tracker. So this is the Skywatcher Star Adventurer Pro. that I picked up. It's definitely not the most sophisticated one of these. The sky's the limit. Oh my gosh, that pun was just awful. But it gets extremely, extremely expensive, extremely fast. So I started kind of on the small side. But long story short, this little doodad keeps the camera moving at about the same speed the stars would be moving by in the right direction if you've got everything set up the way it's supposed to, which is why in some of those time lapses it looks like space is moving past us, and in other ones it looks like the world is moving past us. And what you want for really cool deep space photos is you want the world to move by and the stars to stay as still as possible. This is one reason why the Hubble is so awesome, beyond the fact that it is massively more expensive than anything we could get here on Earth. But the other thing is it doesn't move, and there's no atmosphere between it and all of the shiny objects that are hanging out there. But I'll try to get some more stuff put together on the soonish side. I know I said that like a year ago, more than a year ago. We'll see. It is what it is. But until then, y'all take care and have a good year.